Paul, whenever you're ready.
Okay, you're ready. Does this have to stand during the meeting?
Hold on. Wait, Courtney, what?
I'm sorry, does this have to stand during the meeting?
We have to leave masks on during the meeting if there's people in the chambers, correct?
Okay. No problem.
Yep. Okay, so.
We're good to go?
Unless you're 6 feet apart.
What's what?
They're 6 feet apart.
Well, I'm 6 feet apart, but I want everybody here. We call the meeting to order. Everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes.
Do you want to do a roll call, Paul?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Andy Dennison,
Yeah.
Chris Petras,
Present.
Paul Pinkney,
Here.
Keith Batman,
Here.
Trish Kerr, here, Tim Lattimore,
Here.
and Mike Didio.
Mike, you on?
He was on.
He was on.
Yep, I see him, so he's got to be here.
Can you hear us, Mike?
There he is. Yep. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. We'll get right into it. Minutes to approve for December 2nd. Take a motion.
This Batman, I'll move.
Second, Petras.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, appointments. Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation Board, Roger Connors and Terry Baxter. We have a motion to approve.
This is Kerr.
Move it.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Move it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay, Cayuga County Workforce Development Board, Kiko Kimura. Motion to move. Can I get a motion?
Move it, Petras.
Interest? Second?
Second,
Didio.
Kerr.
Move it.
Oh,
All right. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Ag and Farmland Protection Board is Craig Culver, Silver Street, Auburn, New York. You got a motion?
Didio, move it.
Video moved, second.
Second, Petras.
Second, Petrus. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, get into some committee people. Steve Lynch, we'll start off with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on moving to the chair of the committee, and I'd like to welcome legislator from District 9, Mark Strong. I see he's on the call. Looking forward to meeting and working with you, Legislator Strong. I don't really have much to add to my committee report. I tried to update everybody on the projects that we're working on. I'm available to answer any questions. And Mr. Chairman, we do have 4 resolutions for tonight.
Okay. Let's get right into the resolutions unless somebody has anything to discuss with Steve or questions before. Okay, Steve, you start off. PL1. Steve?
Steve, you're muted. Or
I'm sorry. Thank you. Now that I can see the resolutions the way they're listed on the agenda on the screen.
Yep.
PL1 is a fairly routine resolution. It's administrative in nature. It allows the county to seek reimbursement for the cost we've encountered for the 2020 household hazardous waste events. So this authorizes us putting in the grant application. There's one additional resolution or resolved in this, and that is to allow us to go out to bid for professional services to get a new contract for a vendor to help us with the household hazardous waste program. Fairly routine.
Can I have a motion?
I'll motion. This is Kerr.
Trish? Second?
Second, Didio.
Second video. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. PL2?
PL2 is modifying the membership of the county's 239 committee, which is a committee that reviews projects done by the municipalities, the towns, and the villages that are proximate to town boundaries, county roads, and so on and so forth. That committee was established by the legislature, and it names by position the environmental engineer. What this does is it allows the planning director to designate a senior planner to take that position on the committee. It's a 5-member committee. From time to time, I may, if that person is not available, if they're not in the office on the day of a meeting, I might have another senior planner or another planner sit in, but generally it's to allow me to designate a senior planner to be on the Planning 239 L&M committee.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll motion. This is Kerr.
Trish? Second?
Move it, Didio.
Second Didio. Any further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. PL3, the next one is authorization to fill the budgeted vacant planner position on or after April 1st or on or before October 1st. We have 2 vacancies in the planning department. One was a planner to fill behind Bruce Natalie and do mostly environmental resource planning. I have authorization to fill from December 2020 legislature meeting for that position. This position was added into the budget as a 9-month position in 2021, therefore allowing me to fill the position or budgeting the position from April through the end of the year. I'm just seeking authorization to fill the position now so I could do some of the background work and, tee it up so that when April 1st comes, if I have a good candidate, that individual can start when the budgeted funds for that position are available.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Move it, Petrus.
Move it, Chris. Second?
I'll second. This is Kerr.
Second, Trish. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. PL4 and the last resolution that we have is a recommendation to amend the bylaws of the county's Water Quality Management Agency. Number one, it allows, right now, certain members of the WQMA can designate people to, attend from time to time when they're not available so that we have a quorum. This expands that to the full membership to be able to designate from time to time somebody to sit in. We have it set up so that they have to do it in writing at the beginning of a year, so it's not whoever's available, but somebody can sit. It also clarifies some of the requirements for an organization that represents a water body in Cayuga County to join the WQMA as a voting member. Those provisions are already in place, but they were never brought into the bylaws, and this just makes it explicit in the bylaws. And the last thing it does is it takes out a member that is by name the solid waste program manager. And since we don't really have somebody with that official designation, it allows the planning director to designate a member of the planning staff to be a representative on WQMA. My intention is to make that the person that will be working with solid waste management program, the recycling program, the household hazardous waste programs, et cetera, which is that vacant planner position that we hope to fill behind Bruce Natalie. So that's what's in this one.
Okay, can I have a motion? On PL4?
I'll motion. This is Kerr.
Tim, Tricia, and then Tim second. Any discussion on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, Tim?
Steve, I think this is a great change with the pandemic going on, where people are in and out. And I had mentioned that for our committees, when we used to meet up here on the 6th floor, that if there was a member in the audience, in order to make a quorum, we should be able to pull a legislator out on any of our working boards. So this, I think, should be extended to some of our committees.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore. That's the intent, is to make sure we have quorum for some of these important meetings.
But I'm confused. You can pick anybody, grandma, kid, spouse. I mean, is there a limit to where you?
For Mr. Dennison, for the WQMA, what the organization has to do is they designate who's going to be their representative, say from ALA, from the Owasco Watershed Lake Association. At the beginning of the year, ALA will say, this is our designee, and they'll have to provide in writing the name of another ALA member as designee, who from time to time, if that person can't make it, they're in Florida for the winter or something like that, the designee can vote for them and attend the meeting.
In regards to my question, it would just be other legislators.
Anything else, Andy, on that?
No.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor again?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, Steve, anything else?
I don't have anything else. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and we're still planning on our presentation the 26th, correct?
That is correct. The consultant confirmed with me today that they are working on the presentation and will be prepared to present 10 to 15 minutes remotely on the 26th on the Kapusa strategic plan.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, Tim?
I know this is probably my final year, Steve, and I'd like to be able, I know Mr. Petras is on this committee this year. I'd like to see us do a major project. And I've always said Weedsport would be the most natural, but I'd like to be able to have this board designate, or, you know, I think between the financing that was passed by Congress and the personnel that's going to be in Washington, we might have a good chance of bringing something home. And I think politics has a lot to do with major projects. So I'd like to see us get a team together and put a major project together before the end of the year.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Thank you, Steve. Okay, Doug Kearse, is he on?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Can you hear me?
How are you, sir?
All right, doing well. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and a Happy New Year to you all. I want to start off by thanking you for passing the appointees to our board. It's important as well for a quorum to make sure that we have good representation and people that can actually make the meetings. I submitted a report. I'd be glad to answer questions. A couple things that we have going on right now, the Trade a Tree. Last weekend of that, people are bringing in their real Christmas trees, and we've been grinding and shredding them as they come in. It's a little down this year compared to normal, but we're still taking them. And then also the tree and shrub sale is going to be going on, and so people could replant some new trees. in the springtime. So I'll have more information on that next. This is a good time of year for us to get some planning done. We've been doing a lot of work with not a lot of snow happening. It's been a great time to actually meet with highway departments, especially Brian Soper with the county, the new highway superintendent, to come up with some projects and some cost estimates for some work that the county had to do and how they blend in with our grants. So we're really excited to be able to meet with a lot of the highway departments since they're not plowing snow right now like they normally would. It gives us a good opportunity to get out and look at projects too. Since we don't have to fight snow and ice, we can actually see what's going on. So that's been great. And we've been very busy with year-end reports and other ag type of planning as well. So business as usual and continuing to keep busy.
Any questions for Doug? Got one here, Tim?
Doug, I know years ago we were talking about getting a big tree tub grinder. Do we have one available, or do we rent one, or how do we stand?
Yeah, we don't have one available. We tried for a couple different grants. They're about $1 million because the one we were looking at could recycle wood waste, but also do tires. But we didn't quite have the $1 million in our pocket at the time, and we tried finding some funding for it. We're going to continue to look for funding. Right now, we actually, when we need some grinding done, we'll hire it done and just have them come in and grind what's needed.
Well, since we have the new Green Deal coming in, I think that there might be some money available.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to get another one, and if we can work together on getting those ears bent so we can talk to them, I'd be glad to talk to them.
Okay, anybody else for Doug?
Trish would like to speak.
I'm sorry, Trish. Go ahead.
No problem. Hi, Doug. I just had a technical question about the soil group worksheets, and do you do that every year for the town assessors, or does it coincide with the ag district renewals, or how often do you do that?
No, we do the ag value assessments every year. It's primarily for the landowners. Sometimes some towns do reevaluations and force everybody to come in and take care of them, but for the most part, they're an ongoing yearly occurrence.
Does the information change a lot from one year to the next, or just depends? Or
sometimes, yeah, it depends. Sometimes it does. Sometimes some ag land goes into production. Sometimes ag land may come out of production because we break it down based on cropland, wetland, scrubland, and make sure that the assessments are accurate.
Thank you.
Right, Legislator Dennison, he goes through it regularly. He's pretty familiar with the process, and it's each parcel too is what we end up doing. So
basically
some farms have multiple parts.
doesn't change a damn bit. Just costs us money when the assessor decides she wants to cost us money.
Right.
Sounds like a lot of work.
If we don't have any control. Yeah.
Also,
Believe it or not, that's the one unfunded state mandate that we're responsible for. Only soil and water conservation districts can pull that off. So even we get unfunded state mandates from time to time.
Are you hearing?
Chris,
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Doug, Happy New Year. Just a quick follow-up question. So I was looking for a little clarification on the tree and shrub sale. Were you saying that you're going to bring more information to the next meeting regarding that, or are you aware of the dates now?
I don't have the information. I'll be glad to send it out to everybody via email. I want to say it was finalized today, but with the board meetings and field visits all day, I haven't had a chance to go over all that with Valerie. I believe we'll be advertising it in the newspaper as well. We generally do multiple press releases throughout the spring to try and draw attention to it. So I'll be glad to share that information tomorrow when I get back to the office.
Thank you, sir. That's an outstanding opportunity for all of us. So thanks.
Yeah, certainly.
Anybody else for Doug? Oh, Tim.
Doug, I was traveling in the watershed the other day and noticed that the lake levels are down low in Moravia. Is there any chance that we could dredge some of that material out of that end of the lake?
We don't have any permits in place right now. That'll require some permits and some funding. I mean, that's another thing. It'd be great to talk to an incoming administration possibly about removing some of that legacy nutrients and silt sediment from the lake bottom.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else for Doug? Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Dan Welsh, are you on?
Yep. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year.
And you.
Just a couple quick things. We are still trying to figure out the best way to program. We are starting some kit-based activities for 4-H or any youth in the county that we'll do throughout the winter. So they'll pick up some materials and then that'll be supplemented by a virtual instruction, either led by one of our educators or the 4-H club leaders. In my report, I put in some of the things we're hoping to be working on for 2021. One of the things that I want to bring to this committee's attention is I am hoping to fill our natural resource or environment educator position and put more emphasis on water quality in that job description. So if anybody has any thoughts, ideas, input on that, please share that with me. And then I'll relay that to our board. And the funding from that will be based on the savings we'll have in the budget once the building transfer with the community college is complete. And that's all I have right now.
Any questions for Dan? Okay, thank you very much, sir. Kelly King is, yeah.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm on. I have one update and then I have something else that I wanted to add to my report that just came about as of today. The first thing I wanted to update is on the BCS situation with the mass closure. We provided rapid response in December. And after the rapid response, we were informed that they were supposed to start laying off this week. And they've pushed back the dates of the layoffs and now the date of closure. I don't have a date. They haven't disclosed that, but right now they're temporarily holding off on the closure. So more information to come on that. At the last committee meeting, I touched upon the Trade Act, which BCS applied for a Trade Act petition on behalf of their employees. And I followed up on the petition today, and the status is still under investigation, which is basically pending. We will make sure that we continue to check on the status because Employment and Training does provide all the services for Trade Act in this area. So that's my update for BCS. They're holding strong right now. They're not closing right now, and they will let us know when their new dates of layoff will begin. The other thing that I wanted to add, I just found out today, and I'm pretty excited. The Emergency Response National Dislocated Worker Grant has awarded our area just over $21,000 in National Dislocated Worker Grant funds. I don't have a lot of information to share as it just came through to me today. We do share that money. We split it 50-50 with our Cortland Center. So we have half, we're getting, half of that dollar amount. And all I have so far is that the money is to be spent on additional career services, training, supportive services, and any needs-related payments for eligible participants. So dislocated worker funds that we have now, they've extended the eligibility criteria so we can use these funds for. So it's basically workers who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, laid off due to this disaster, laid off due to quarantine, or having to miss work to care for a family member because they can't report to their regular workplace, or possibly their workplace doesn't allow for social distancing and they're not able to attend. So basically they're giving us additional funds to spend on closures due to COVID-related issues. So that just came through today. I'll have more information soon. But basically, we'll use those funds for retraining and OJT and some supportive services so we can help with daycare and transportation and bus passes and tools and resources for people to either stay employed or re-employed. So we were excited to see that those grant funds came through for us under the Dislocated Worker grant. And those are the two things that I pretty much wanted to share tonight. If anyone has any questions.
Tim does.
Yeah, Kelly, with the development of Tessie Plastics and Tessie Medical now, are they finding enough trained employees to fill the positions that they need down there?
Yeah, Mr. Latimer, they have been very successful in hiring, especially because they're high-paying jobs and they're training their staff, so they're not they're entry level and then they're training for a high wage. So it does seem that they are doing very well with their hiring. They haven't reached out to us for assistance. We've reached out to them in hopes to develop some on-the-job training contracts with them and also to get our foot in the door to hopefully refer some of the BCS folks. But we haven't had a huge success with them because they are doing well with their hiring process. But we'll continue to offer our supports to them and to the BCS to try to make that connection because they are still hiring.
Well, our community college had a plastics mold program. Are they up and running at all?
They did. I'd have to, and I haven't heard a whole lot about it. I know that often the classes did not go on because they didn't have enough enrollment. But I will say that I'm excited with the community college because we actually just met last week to do, we're trying to develop somewhat of a focus group to see where the interest lies in the community in terms of job seekers and how we can develop training programs to match that need. And that division of CCC that had the plastics program running is part of that initiative. I will reach out to them and see where we stand, but I don't believe the classes have been running just due to lack of interest. But I think in the future with the COVID-19 pandemic and reimagining the workforce, I think you're going to see more people interested in that just because it is in the high demand, high growth industry right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Kelly? Thank you very much, Kel.
Thank you.
Okay.
Paul, can I just ask a quick question?
Okay.
Hey, Kelly. I was just wondering, I know you had a meeting with Cortland around the youth programming and brainstorming different things, and I was just wondering how that went. I see that enrollment's up in the youth programs, which is great. I was just wondering if you could give a little update on what's happening with youth.
Yes, absolutely, Trish. Hi. We met December 16th. We're doing youth recruitment. It's one of the 2021 goals for me. This is going to be my first full year as the director in employment and training, and the youth program is something that I identified right off the bat that we are definitely lacking in terms of recruitment. So we met with the Cortland office, we met with some members of the Workforce Development Board and NIATEP, and we brainstormed ideas on how to recruit youth, how we can capture youth. And it was eye-opening for me because I've never really delved into the youth program until now. And we look at it as a work experience program, and we see now there's so much more to the youth program that we can be doing. And with the partnership with NIATEP, they were very helpful with us. They're recommending that we look into purchasing some software to create our own website. We don't have that. It's hard to capture youth, especially right now with schools being closed. So we're starting to collaborate with probation and the jail, places that are identifying youth with barriers and making referrals to us. So we're seeing a lot more referrals coming through since we had this meeting and since we started rethinking the youth program. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I think we're going to see some growth in 21 with this.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is Karen, was that Karen? I'm sorry, this is crazy.
That was Kelly King.
Yeah, Kelly, is Karen Cool in? Okay, she sent a report in, obviously. Tourism. We'll go to Tracy.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see everybody in the new year, or at least your initials here on the side of the screen. I did submit the report. I also submitted that first quarterly report. It will get better, I promise. The first one was a little rough, starting from scratch and using data that was not organized for this purpose. So moving forward, our 2021 data will be easier to manipulate into a report like this. But if you do want to see additional information in this quarterly report, we can certainly update it, add things, mold it to your needs moving forward. Other than what's in the reports, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. One is that we have seen some progress on the sewer line in Aurelius over at the industrial park. We did get a conceptual approval from DEC and are working through the final engineering to get a final approval. We're working with the town on that, as well as multiple other partners. We're working very hard to be on a good timeline to meet CMI's initial needs, but we will likely phase out the full construction of the new line. I've also been working with the CETA staff on our 2021 work plan. We're including some strategies to expand coverage of different parts of the county for the year, because we do have some connections and we have expanded our reach, but there's still additional work to be done. So we're including that in the work plan. We're also looking at supply chain again, and the micro enterprise program is about to launch. So we're going to see how that goes. On that note, the micro enterprise right now is funded by Auburn CDBG money. So the participants that would be eligible for grants have to be from the city of Auburn, but we're starting to explore funding opportunities that would allow us to expand that to the full county. Should this pilot go well and we want to redo this program, we are looking for ways to include residents from outside of the city of Auburn as well for future rounds of this program. So more to come on that. There is a new grant available for restaurants that opened prior to March 1st of 2019. It's from New York State. It's up to $5,000 to reimburse expenses related to winterization and making adjustments for COVID since September. So that is out. The application is available right now. Sounds like most people are able to get into that portal, but a couple have had trouble. So if you hear anything, please do let us know. We can help try to connect them with the right people to troubleshoot. And then there was recently a major change to the New York Forward Loan Fund that makes more businesses eligible to apply for it. Previously, if a business had received EIDL loan funding, they were not able to apply for this program, but now they are. So that actually opens up a lot of businesses to being eligible. So please do send people our way on that. We can refer them to the lender that is handling this program in our region. So those are the big ones.
Trace, Aldi's is moving into Grand Avenue soon. And am I hearing rumblings, there's people looking or speaking of that building? And people.
I have also heard rumblings. I don't have anything to confirm regarding that building at this time, but I've also heard those rumblings, yes.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Anybody for Tracy? Tim?
Trace, as you heard me mention, I'd like to be able to have a, with the passing of the new bills in Washington, there's plenty of money around. And this pandemic has opened up a tremendous amount of opportunities for us to look at and get that supply chain back to the United States. Are you putting together a team in order to try to capture some of that changing manufacturing that's going to happen?
Yeah, so that's, as I mentioned, we are looking at supply chains in our 2021 work plan to try to identify what the highest and greatest opportunities for Cayuga County are. So I imagine that will be taken into account in that analysis and the resulting programming.
Any other questions for Trace? Okay, thank you.
Paul, this is Trish. Sorry. I keep jumping on after the. I was wondering, I saw the Meg Golub, she went to the Barley and Malt Summit that talked about the supply chains within that industry. I assume it's the craft industry, beer industry. And I was just curious if there were any opportunities that she saw coming out of that for our county or even our region.
I honestly can't answer that in depth. We didn't have a strong or in-depth conversation about that. I think it was more informational as opposed to in terms of, where those supply chains are. Obviously there are challenges locally with some of these things. There's very limited malting capacity and those types of things. So there's always opportunity to expand that business, but I'm not fully briefed on the content of that conference.
Okay. Thanks, Tracy.
Anyone else? Well, looking. Okay, Trace, thank you much. Okay, is there anything else to come before planning tonight? Anybody have anything? Before we sign off, I just want to let everybody know I've asked Tim to be vice chair, and he's accepted, so we'll see what happens.
Congratulations, Tim.
Wow, thanks, Trish. I plan on putting a couple manufacturing plants up. You with me?
You got it.
I like it.
Okay, other than that, I'll entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Adjourn. Thank you. A second, I'm sorry. Those two.
I'll second it.
Okay, second, Trish. Any objections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Have a safe night.
So judicial, let's say 5 minutes.
Okay,
Good night, everyone.
bye-bye.
Night, so.
Juice.
What's that? When's the like last time you?
I gotta get a new battery.
Is that everything?
So everything okay? You handled that well? Your mommy get something?
want to turn that off?
Is there a button here?
Right here, Tim.
Are we about ready?
Yeah.
How's everybody doing here in 2021?
Ready to meet it.
We're off to a great start.
I hope so. So shall we start with roll call?
Okay. I have Ben, you're on.
Yep.
Mr. Batman, are you on?
Yes, I am here. I was muted, but yes, I'm here.
Hans, you're on.
Yep.
Heidi, you are on.
Yes, present.
Elaine Daly, you are on.
I am.
Mr. Latimer is present here in the chambers. And Mr. Didio is also on.
Okay.
Correct.
Great. So, thanks everybody. And I have asked Elaine Daly to be the vice chair, and she has agreed. So that will be our vice chair for this year. And I guess first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from December 2nd. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Heidi? Anybody a second?
I'll second it. Elaine?
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, carried. So we'll start with the department reports and go to Ms. Spengler first.
Good evening. Happy New Year. So a couple of updates to my report. You'll see we have an employee out with COVID. She has since returned. Call volumes for the year, they were up about 1.5%, which is obviously expected with everything going on. You know, we definitely saw a busier pattern towards the end of the year. And then in regards to training, you see that 3 of the call takers have completed training. Not only has COVID caused 2020 to be a historical year, but we actually had all 4 of our trainings complete call taking, which was huge for us. In the 15 years I've been there, we've never had 100% completion. So that was super exciting. Super proud of all of the trainees. They're all call taking for the next few weeks, and then we will move them into dispatch positions. Each of them will start training on dispatch positions. So still a lot of time to assess, you know, whether or not they will be successful with the career, but at this point, they're all doing an excellent job. I don't have any other updates on my report unless anyone has any questions, and then I do have one resolution that was added in regards to Entrado.
That's really great news about the trainees.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Denise?
Yes, Chairman, Denise, are the new phone lines dropping any calls? Is our IT up to date in regards to phone calls?
I'm not specifically sure what you're referring to, but I do have a resolution in front of you to do a refresh on our phone system. We aren't having any current issues with it, but it's 8 years old, and definitely we are at a point where we need hardware and software upgrades. But as far as dropping calls and phone lines, we haven't had any of those issues.
Trish Kerr, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, Happy New Year, Denise. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the 911 posts about the staff in your department. A lot of them are long-term. And it is good to see you recognizing them and appreciating them. My question is, can you I saw a press release recently or something recently about a partnership with the sheriff's office, asking the public to call in and provide some details that might help first responders orient themselves more quickly if they are called to that house. And I was wondering if you could just comment on that a little bit.
Yep. So what that entails, Trish, is somebody might have a medical condition, or we have a couple of individuals who live in the community who are bedridden and they are always in the back bedroom. So we have an alert associated with our address. So if they ever call 911, an alert pops up for the dispatcher that says patient is in the back west corner of the home. And that way when responders get there, they know exactly where to go. Things like key holder information, or we hide our key in the green planter on the porch. The key code to our door is, we put, information like that in there for the fire department if they need to get in there quickly. Children who maybe are autistic, we can put that in there if they wander. We have a child who lives in the county who has a tendency to wander down the road where there's a pond and a wooded area. It's just an area that gives him peace, and that's where he wanders to. So we have an alert put in the system that lets responders know that that's, potentially where he might be. Anything that we can put in there to save time for the responders is essentially what we're looking for.
Any other questions? If not, we can go to JP1. Somebody wants to make the motion?
I'll make the motion for JP1. This is Elaine. I'll second. Nightingale.
All right. Any discussion on JP1?
I just a point of clarification on this and the other resolution tonight. Are those ticket items that were planned for in the budget? Is that the case, Denise? Both of these things?
Yes. Yep. This was put in the budget initially, and during the initial discussions, it was recommended that it be pulled and be presented in this fashion and taken from the fund balance. From my perspective, the frustrating part is this is something that would typically be grant funded, but we're still sitting waiting for grant funding to come through this year. My hope is that because of the uncharted territory that we've been in for the last year and a half, that the grants that are coming, and I do anticipate we'll get some this year, that they will let us use them for projects that have already been approved. Typically, you can't supplant with grant funding, which means you can't request funding for something that's already been either paid for or allocated for by county funding. But I'm hoping that based on what we've seen and the issues that obviously every county is contending with, that the grant funding this year will hopefully offset some of these costs.
Okay, thanks.
I guess that leads me to another question then, Denise, is that if we approve that this month, when would you move forward with it? Because, if we were to wait a couple of months, we might see some movement.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is it takes 4 months for them to do the processing of the purchase order and the equipment and the shipping. So we wouldn't look at an implementation until probably May. And there are parts of the system that are end of life come the end of May. And what that means is some of the equipment is no longer supported by the vendor.
Right.
So we're kind of in a sticky situation right now.
It's like buying an Apple computer.
I don't know a lot about those, but computer, yeah, they become end of life, and then you're stuck having to repurchase a new one.
Any other questions on JP1?
This is Heidi Nightingale. I have a question for Denise and also for Lynn Marinelli. I think she is on, regarding the fund balance transfer and any implications for the unrestricted, unreserved fund balance for this kind of transfer.
Yeah, I am on. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay.
Yeah, that was planned for during the budget. It had to come out of the fund balance. It's way too premature to really know how we ended up the year for 2020. But as you may have seen some reports from the treasurer that the sales tax came in a lot better than projected also. So I think that, it's fine. This was planned for, and it needs to be done.
Thank
you.
you.
Helpful.
Any further questions? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, carried. Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome. The last thing that I had, I apologize, was in regards to our 911 data analyst position. That was changed to a half-time position in the budget. And the predicament that we're in is that position was approved by civil service to encompass both roles of GIS and discovery. So we can't really fill it on a part-time basis because the workload would just overwhelm anybody on a part-time basis. The other concern is that trying to get a GIS person on a part-time basis would be almost impossible. So I've been working with human resources on this position. I'm gonna hopefully bring a resolution next month. The position that we're in is to fill this, we need to make it full-time. We're currently, probably about 300 requests behind. We can't possibly even try to keep up with it. The only work that's really being done on discovery is on overtime. So we're paying employees about $39 an hour to do discovery work. The position that's budgeted for is around $23 an hour. And then we're also paying $79 an hour for a contract employee for GIS. So there's a significant savings by making this person full-time and our employee. As I stated, we're paying between $39 and $79 an hour for the work. We would be paying the employee about $23 an hour. So I want to come up with a little bit more information on that, and then next month, hopefully bring a resolution to get that filled, because I think as we start to see things get busier as spring's coming, the DA's office is going to be, more pressing on getting these requests done, and we just don't have the staff to manage these, and we're paying a GIS employee to do the GIS work at a rate of $79 an hour, and that actually was only budgeted for a half year. So as a heads up, I wanted to discuss that a little bit this month, and then hopefully bring a resolution next month for that position.
All right, and if we're going to bring a resolution next month, then we need to do some work this month to be ready, or to come up with some type of a solution that we're all going to be comfortable with.
Yeah, in the next few days, I'm going to send some information out, because I've been kind of compiling some information that will show, that we would definitely, there would definitely be a cost savings.
Denise, it's Elaine. I know when we passed the contract for, it was a 15 amount not to exceed 15,000, and that was what you're calling a half-year contract.
No, we only budgeted I budgeted 15,000, and it got cut to 7,500.
You budgeted 15,000 for the contract we passed for Nick. I thought that was approved at 15,000.
It was, but the budget was cut in half, so there's only $7,500 that was budgeted.
We'll definitely get all the information ready for next month before we have to make any type of decision.
Yeah.
Elaine, and we can talk a little bit further about that, but that's sort of where the predicament happens, or has happened.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move right along. Is Mr. Hoskins on the call? If not, you have his report. He doesn't have any resolution, so we can move along. Dr. Duckett, I don't see. And Mr. Boodleman. Again, no resolution, so no report, no resolution. Okay. I guess we'll move to Mr. Courier. I think I saw you on the call. Dale? No? Okay. Wow, we're going right through this. Jay?
Yes, good evening.
How you doing?
I am well, thank you. I hope everyone there is well as can be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last year, a couple of different times, I advised the committee that I had a clerical staff member who was out on an extended medical leave, and we were not certain what was going to be happening with her. She did announce retirement late in December and has left county employ. Her position was essentially the traditional style receptionist position. Certainly at this point, with COVID in place, the way the department's operating, we don't need to fill this position right away. And I'm not sure that we're going to need a traditional receptionist type of position down the road. What I would like to do is discuss with Lynn and with HR how this position might be repurposed for how the department functions in 2021. Now that we've computerized significantly, our administrative tasks for the officers are different as far as report generation, report writing, how we receive and send information in and out of the department has changed. And I would like to take a look at modernizing this for what the department currently needs. And I think we can take our time doing this, probably the next month or two at least, and then come back to the committee with an idea of what we may be looking for, whether the vacant title is even suitable and maybe needs to be changed to something that reflects what we currently need to help the department now. Beyond that, we still are functioning with a reduced staffing in the office day to day. The department's functioning well in a remote capacity. The officers have really embraced how we can work in these circumstances. Field work continues to be done, so we are in the community. And with the courts becoming more active in a remote setting, we're beginning to see a little bit more of an uptick in investigations, new sentences. So the caseloads are beginning to trend back upward a little bit. That's all of my report for the month.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Jay? Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
I think Dale will be with us in a few seconds. We'll try him again, but we'll keep moving and go to the sheriff next. And I think the sheriff also has some resolutions also.
Good evening, everyone. I did submit my report, and I wanted to highlight something on my report, and I have something else to add. But the last bullet in regards to seeing an increase in the number of repeat offenders, I'm compiling some data and looking at some cases, but I'm concerned with some things that we've had to handle over the past year, the strain on resources and the impact on public safety. But just one quick case I want to highlight. An individual that committed multiple crimes over a period of just less than 2 weeks, 8 separate incidents, 8 separate arrests, arrested and released between December 22nd and January 3rd, multiple felonies, multiple misdemeanors. The 6th incident involved a stolen vehicle in a pursuit. So we need to start looking at these cases, documenting them, and discussing them. Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
I think that we need to start bringing them to the attention of our state elected representatives and having some conversations with them. I think Bail reform needs to be reformed again, but I'm very concerned about the impact on public safety. It's my opinion that judges need to have the ability to assess potential dangerousness when they're assessing someone at arraignment and determine if that person should be released, but not have their hands tied to allow something like this to happen. Because I look at 8 separate incidents where somebody could have been hurt, and what really bothers me the most is that the fact that the very person that these reforms are supposed to be good for in this case are very dangerous, because they keep putting this person back on the street who's dealing with a drug issue that could potentially be addressed in the jail. But we've got a number of incidents that I'm looking at similar to that. Another case where we responded 45 separate times last year between May and the end of the year, multiple arrests. It's going to be a huge strain on our resources moving forward, and just not good for public safety. But I wanted to bring that to your attention, that I'm going to start to work on that and bring that to the attention of our state elected reps. Also, in addition to what I reported, I do have 2 lieutenants in the road patrol division, a detective lieutenant and a road patrol lieutenant. They're in a kind of a unique position in that they're members of the road patrol bargaining unit, a member of that union. However, they are often tasked with administering discipline to people within their own bargaining unit, and it creates kind of a difficult situation. But we've had some discussion in the past about exploring the ability for the 2 of them to break off from that bargaining unit and possibly form their own bargaining unit, be represented by their own union, so they're not put in that difficult situation. But I have consulted with Peter Jones with Bond, Schoenig, and King relative to that. He agrees that it's something that would be something that we should look at. I just wanted to mention to the Public Safety Committee that we'll likely be approaching the legislature to get legislative approval. We would need that for them to do that. It's something that I would consent to, but I'd like to explore that so that they can begin to pursue that. Beyond that, I don't have anything else to add to my report. I'm happy to answer any questions relative to that if anybody has anything prior to getting to the resolutions.
I have a follow-up. On your comments about the people that are pretty much repeat offenders. And I guess my question is, when I know with COVID, they're not returning to court as much as, like it should happen, but are they reporting, or are they just missing those court dates also?
In the first case example, actually both of the case examples, the issue in those cases is that the judges are forced to release them at arraignment. They don't have the option to set bail. And in some of the cases, depending on the charge, the law enforcement officers are required to issue an appearance ticket and not even take them for an arraignment. So there's certain felonies and charges that it really concerns me that we're putting them right back on the street. So it's not a matter of them not showing up to court. It's a matter of the judge's hands being tied and having to release them. So we have to get that reformed.
I totally understand that. But for instance, when they do give them the appearance ticket, do they show up?
I can't speak. I haven't looked at that. I don't know where we're at as far as new warrants being issued for people failure to appear. So I don't have that information to provide to you, but I can certainly take a look at that and provide that.
Yeah, that would be, I would love to see that also, Sheriff. Thank you.
I'll work on that as well.
Okay. We had somebody.
It was me, Ben. Sheriff, I guess this is probably an obvious question. If you put all this history together with the repeat, that does not in the current law give the judge any ability to have any discretion in those kind of cases right now?
No.
No. Depending on the charges, the judge is just forced to release that individual.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Batman.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say that I think that the sheriff is exactly spot on. That what we need to do is begin to collect information so that we have some data. this issue of bail reform is a difficult one because people are innocent until proven guilty. On the other hand, we have to protect the community, and that's what the sheriff is talking about. And I don't think bail is the response. I think we ought to collect this information, and we may want to look at a proposal that says, look, if someone is a danger to the community, or if someone is a danger of not coming back to their court date, then they should be held. The idea that someone can come up with the money, that's not the issue. The issue is protecting the community and ensuring people come back. And I think what the sheriff is doing is exactly what we should do, and that we should pursue it. Because if someone's a danger to our community, they commit a crime, they should be held, even if they got $1 million, as far as I'm concerned anyway. So it's the first step is to collect this. So thank you, Sheriff, for doing that. I think it's an important thing to do, and I think we ought to take it seriously and look at it and work with our state representatives to fix it, remembering that upstate is not New York City. That's one of the big issues here. We are not New York City. So I just applaud you for collecting that sheriff, and I think we should take this seriously and look very closely at it. So thanks for doing this.
Sure thing. And I think it's just as dangerous for the individual that we're allowing to keep being, put in the position to commit these crimes over and over again too. So.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
exactly. Totally agree. Totally.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Lattimore would like to speak.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Lattimore.
Sheriff, you're doing an excellent job under the conditions. I know a lot of crime is related to drugs and alcohol, and I know that this pandemic has increased the rate of consumption on both aspects. I know that at one time we spoke about having in-house AA meetings at the jail. Are we participating in that? And also, Mr. Chairman Ben, I'd like to have you ask Mr. Duckett to come and report maybe to the rate of deaths related to overdose and what have you, and give us a report to this committee.
Well, if Mr. Duckett would come to the committee, he could answer you. So that's my comment. Sorry. Any other questions for the sheriff?
Well, are we conducting AA and NA meetings in the jail is my question.
So currently we, just a few weeks ago, we suspended those programs and we're not allowing the volunteers in due to the COVID spike. But we still do have CHAD treatment therapists in the facility along with peer support. So we are authorizing them to come in and provide services. We will certainly, once we feel it's safe to do so, encourage our AA and NA Narcotics Anonymous providers to come back and continue those meetings. It's something that I understand the importance of. It's something I'm kind of passionate about. So just as soon as we can safely start bringing people back, we're going to do that.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore.
Chair, this is Legislator Nightingale. I just have a few comments.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I concur completely with Legislator Batman. Upstate New York is not New York City, and I'd support any of the research that the sheriff can do so that we can be advocates with our state representatives. And I say that as someone who is representing a district that has a very high crime rate in the city of Auburn, but also a very high rate of vulnerable elderly who live alone. So I have those concerns for my neighbors around, that duality of a high crime rate district and high rate of vulnerable citizens. So thank you, great initiative, and let me know how I can support that.
Thank you.
Hey.
Chairman Vitale, I have a question as well, if that's okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Great, thank you. Sheriff, I'm very excited to hear the work you're doing regarding bail reform and looking at some of the cases and how it's impacting our county. This is definitely something that I've been concerned about for quite a while, not just for the impact on public safety, but as you said, the impact on some of these perpetrators have significant substance abuse or mental health issues, and they're losing that drying out opportunity in the jail to kind of get back on their feet. I just was wondering, is there any kind of coordination with other counties and other sheriffs across the state to look at this and try to quantify the impact, looking at cases specifically, so that we can present a bigger picture to our representatives? And I guess my second part to that is that this difference between upstate and downstate, New York City is definitely experiencing a lot of crime right now. There may be some changing points of view from legislators that represent the city because of the state that New York is in right now. So as much as we can pull others into this effort to make it a larger effort, I think we'll be better off. But I was just curious about your comments with that.
Sure. I'm not aware of any coordinated effort anywhere in the state right now, but one of the things that I will be doing once I compile the data and speak with our local representatives will be to bring this information to our state sheriff's association, and certainly try to work with them to bring this information to Albany. They're really the conduit for us to do that from my office, but they work closely with the New York Chiefs Association, and this is one of the areas that I'm sure that they can spearhead a coordinated effort to bring some of this. I know many of you have probably seen on the news some of our larger cities, including Syracuse, saw a very disturbing number of homicides last year. I think that these are all things that are impacted because of bail reform, and I think that we'll see, once this effort starts, I think that we'll see many others come forward with similar data that we're finding.
Okay, if there aren't any further questions, we can go right to the Sheriff's Resolutions Jp2. Do I hear a motion?
Nightingale.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Didio. Any discussion on JP2?
Mr. Lattimore would like to speak.
Okay, Mr. Lattimore, go ahead.
Sheriff, as you know, I've criticized or asked about this contract with Black Creek. I think, wasn't it a year or so ago that we paid them $600,000 for an upgrade on the locking system at the jail? Is this another system on top of the system we just paid?
No, the upgrade, I believe the last one was in 2014. So you're looking at every 6 or 7 years that we're going to have to address this. And the biggest issue is the electronics and the software. Like there was a joke about an Apple computer, but I mean, any electronic device today, has a certain life, and this system's outlived its useful life. We've limped it through the year last year, and I'm very concerned about it going down. But the last upgrade to this system was back in, I'm pretty sure it was 2014.
Well, when we have these resolutions in the future, I hope Lynn would put down what we paid to date on the contract and these additional costs, so that we can see what the history is on certain resolutions in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion on JP2? Otherwise, all in favor?
Later, Nightingale. I just wanted to mention that, the upgrade is for Windows 10. And, Windows 10 has been around for a long time. So, indeed, the sheriff has been working with antiquated material.
Yeah. Hey, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll oppose.
And any opposed? Just Mr. Lattimore?
Yes.
Okay, carried. JP3. Do I have a motion for JP3?
This Batman, I'll move it.
Nightingale, second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on JP3? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. JP4 is for the fiscal officer. Motion, anyone?
This Batman, I'll move it.
Second, Daley.
Thank you. Any discussion on fiscal officer resolution?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I was muted. But you go ahead, and then I have a comment too.
Go ahead. I'm trying to do two things at once here. So go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I just want to say I think we need to move forward with this. I've asked some questions and they were answered, and I appreciate the attention. One of the things that we talked about in recent probably years is whether or not we ought to move toward a finance department. Now, we haven't made a decision on that, and it's premature, but my point is that at this point in time, we have to have this position in the sheriff's department from everything I've heard. But at some point, we may want to consolidate all of our financial operations in a department, and approval of this does not in any way prohibit us from moving in that direction in the future. But for now, this is what we have to do, and I'm sure the sheriff agrees. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that, so thank you, Keith, for just reviewing that. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Carried. JP5 is for to fill 3 deputy sheriff positions. Do I have a motion?
Nightingale?
Second?
Daley.
Daley, thank you. Any discussion?
This is like Nightingale. A question for the sheriff, and is about his process and filling. Do you have candidates? How far out do you feel you are in getting these filled?
We've actually started interviews already. We do still have a current list. We will be offering the test later this year again, but we do still have a current list. It looks like we do have some good potential candidates on this list still that are interested should these positions be approved. So we've already started the interview process in anticipation and hope that the legislature would authorize these. But the academy that we're looking to utilize starts February 8th. So we're going to be kind of under the gun as we usually are. So we've started the process of trying to filter that out and see if we do have some eligible candidates should we get approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you. JP6.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
If I may suggest, I think JP 6, 7, and 8 are pretty routine. Unless anyone wants them separated, I suggest that we do 6, 7, and 8 as a bundle, and I so move.
I accept that bundle. So you made the motion. Do we have a second?
Nightingale, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Just for clarity, I'm talking to Mr. Duckett at the same time. That was for 6 and what number?
6, 7, and 8.
Oh, all 3. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have one question on JP8, Sheriff. Is this an add-on to the current Lexipol contract you have to provide additional training?
This is an add-on. This is not something that we've had in the past. So this would be for actual law enforcement training, not for policy or procedural training, but for actual training relative to specific areas of law enforcement.
Okay. See, I'm getting to be a lexicol expert right now with all this. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
If there aren't any other further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay, JP9. Do I have a motion for JP9?
I'll move it.
Mr. Lattimore, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Daly? Any discussion?
Yeah, this is Batman. I've asked a couple questions and it appears I haven't had the final stuff, but I think my understanding is this is consistent with the stuff we've done with the non-bargaining unit and with Part B, particularly Part B of the non-bargaining unit. So I think that's important that we be consistent. But my understanding is that it is consistent. So I'm of course going to vote for it.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you very much.
We're going to go back to Gail Courier, I think, has gone up to the 6th floor and is in the chambers. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on just a second, Gail. And I will be calling Mr. Duckett back right now while Dale is giving his update. And Mr. Lattimore will have an opportunity to ask him the question that he had before. Is that all right with you, Mr. Lattimore?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the technical glitch. I was downstairs and it crashed. So I came upstairs. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I believe our report is pretty self-explanatory. However, we do have a few updates. Item number 1, the highest priority obviously right now is dealing with COVID, and we have expanded our efforts with the health department to go beyond just the testing that we've been doing 3 days a week or sometimes 4, to also providing some logistical support, planning support for the health department for their vaccination efforts. As I'm sure you're aware, they've been at BOCES this week, and we'll be looking at other sites here, particularly Cayuga Community College, to look at the feasibility of moving the vaccination center there when BOCES reopens. So the whole COVID piece with health has become a large item for us. Also down on item number 3 with the EMS training, we've had an update there. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the class, and an abundance of caution for everybody's safety and illness. But as another piece of the vaccination puzzle, we're now moving to use some of our EMS training staff to, they'll be training EMTs to do vaccinations, do inoculations, so that we'll be able to use some of those folks to augment the nurses and others the health department has available. And lastly, on item number 4, with the under planning, with the state mandated county pandemic response plan, the item at almost at the end where it says ready for review in early February, that's goes for review by the county union in order to give them input to the plan, which again we have to have submitted to the state in April. So those are just a few updates, and I did hear somebody mention Wasco Lake earlier, but spring is coming, and as of today,
Lake Ontario is still a foot below what it was a year ago. Knock on wood, we haven't had a lot of precipitation, so hopefully this spring we won't have lake flooding. So with that, is there anything I can add or clarify?
Mr. Lattimore has a question.
Mr. Chairman, you recognize, I just want to,
I'm sorry, I was muted. Go ahead.
thank the Auburn firefighters for giving these shots. So are the different volunteer fire departments going to be able to be trained to give out the shots so we can get?
The fire departments per se will not. We have certain EMTs that we have hired as part-time employees, as well as you noted, members of the Auburn Fire Department. And we have put out an invitation to others who may come from other departments if they would like to come get trained and work with the county. But the individual departments will be going and doing that. It all has to be done through the health department.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
And I have Mr. Duckett on the phone here, and I think he'll be able to hear you, Tim, if you want to ask your question again.
Well, I think the question is, this is Dr. Duckett, not
Yes,
Bill
yes,
Johnson.
yep.
Well, we haven't had a report in a while from you, and I was just wondering, during this pandemic, I know through my channels that there has been some overdoses in both alcohol and drugs, and I just wanted to see whether or not those reports are correct.
So, well, first off, I apologize. I didn't realize because Marcia had an updated thing from 11, 20. We usually, towards the end of the month, begin to do things. December's toxicologies are still not all back yet, but it looks like we'll probably end the year with approximately 21 overdose deaths for 2020, give or take maybe one or two extra, but that's again depending on what the toxicologists come back or not back. So that's a dramatic increase from prior year. I believe off the top of my head we had around 9. A lot of the thought in terms of why the increase was obviously was a lot of the things going around with COVID-19, stress related in terms of isolation and people unable to meet their programs, getting involved. There's also been talks from a lot of the patients from Eastern Medical Center when we get discussions that sometimes when people get money from the stimulus checks, a lot of people, purchase a lot of drugs in some form, unfortunately. That's the reason why in the springtime, early summer, we saw our biggest spike. The other thing that was up by the end of the year, we're up with our suicides. We had 11, I believe, was the final number. Unfortunately, this year, we already had a 7-year-old suicide, which is something I have never seen before since I've taken office. Something, fortunately, we never really seen. That's being investigated currently, but it's still a rough time for a lot of folks. But back in terms of reports, like I said, we are always doing it. I didn't realize that we weren't making it to you guys, so I was talking to Martha to make sure that they get back to be sent to you guys. So I accept that in there, that you may be aware that you guys are getting them, because we are producing them as they come through.
Did that answer your question, Tim?
Well, I had one more. The capacity of our hospitals with the COVID rise, we still have a lot of capacity in the hospitals if this pandemic continues. Is that correct?
Well, that's a question I think would be better from, Matt Chatterton or whatever. I mean, I can just, I guess, as a physician that has significant others that works in the hospital. I mean, they are extremely limited. And as you recall, the hospital did put a statement out advising people to be under control with, going out doing, big events, big home events, because, they're at capacity right now. I don't know if you're aware, but they're so desperate for getting nurses in there to help out that they're paying an unbelievable amount of money for nursing staff to come in to help them. So really, they're in a crisis in terms of staffing. I mean, they have been keeping up. I think they got a great team over there doing a great job. A lot of their leadership has been really helping out the county as well, working with Leslie. They've been unbelievable. Our health department has been unbelievable. Everybody's been doing a phenomenal job. But I'm hoping that we don't see those numbers go up anymore, as people begin to get vaccinated, and hopefully this begins to go down. But yeah, I would talk to the hospital about further details of what their capacities are, but I haven't heard anything to the point where they're not able to keep up right yet. They're getting close, I'm sure.
I hope that Chairman Daley can report that maybe to the Health Committee tomorrow.
I certainly will. And, Dr. Duckett was right on the money. We heard the report from the Healing Community Study just today. They had 208 overdoses and 21 of them were fatal overdoses, compared to 179 overdoses and 9 fatal in 2019. I'm not sure all of those overdoses, the fatal deaths, were opioid related, but those were the gross numbers they reported today.
Do we have bed capacity at the hospital?
Hold on. Dr. Duckett's talking. Go ahead.
The biggest issue this community has, and we have to start evolving, is that opioids are still there, but as we even saw in that same discussion today, because obviously they got our numbers. Thank you, Elaine, for reminding me of that. Yeah, they got our numbers too. But only 30% of overdoses these days are related to opiates. 70% are related to other things. And the other 70%, which we're seeing down in jail and everything else, is new Molly, which isn't really Molly. It's a synthetic variant cut with methamphetamines and bath salts and God knows what else they put in it. But we're seeing people overdosing on that much more than anything else. It's cheaper than heroin. It's easier to make. It's easier to access. And a lot of people are turning to it. And as we kind of go on, our strategies are going to have to change, because there is no medication assistance that helps people, stop their cravings for this drug. Like Suboxone, which helps out, with people with opiates. We're working on the healing community. Buprenorphine, Suboxone there doesn't do anything for it. And there's so we're going to be having another crisis. We are in a crisis right now with it. But fortunately, it doesn't cause many deaths, but it does cause a lot of people to become incarcerated, and it does cause some brain damage. And we can go into details of that at a different time if you guys want to discuss, but that's kind of the current state of the whole addiction world right now in our community. And we're all fighting it still. So.
Okay. I really appreciate Dr. Duckett giving me a holler and getting this information to everybody. And we'll be looking for those numbers again. And don't be afraid to reach out to me if there's something special you want to bring to the committee.
And anybody, please, if you guys have anything from me, call me. Right now, since being with East Hill Medical, we're working on strategies because we get vaccinations too, which has been taking a lot of our time. Please call me anytime. I think these step out of a room or whatever and help out. So whatever you need, call me, okay?
Yep, will do, Dr. Duckett.
Ben, can I ask one more question?
Got one more. Go ahead, Trish.
Sorry about that. I was just wondering, looking at the numbers in 2020, which were higher than 2019, I assume for suicides as well as overdoses. How is it trending? Is it trending up or is it trending down going into 2021? Or is it the same?
very good question on it. We are seeing, we saw that the overdose deaths definitely trending down. We have had one fatality this year from an overdose death in Auburn with APD. This was a person that had a long history of substance abuse, and toxicology is pending, but it may be related more to just crushed up prescribed medications and such. But we'll see when that actually kind of comes back to us. There's always a delay with those types of things. In terms of the suicides, I'm telling you right now, I guess wearing my physician hat and my FQHC hat, with Easthill, I have never seen a community so mentally kind of hurt, for lack of a better term. I have never seen people so scared, people so depressed in my entire professional career as a physician. It's quite scary. And the thing, I split call with all my deputy investigators equally. I don't necessarily have to, but I like to be boots on the ground with everything I do. But I unfortunately got the call for the 7-year-old. And I really want everybody to kind of think tonight of what it would take for a 7-year-old, a child to take his own life. What kind of world that we're kind of presenting to people, and it's a real hard thing for me to kind of grasp, and what we can do as a community to try to prevent that type of thing. I mean, it's mind-boggling. We had murder-suicide last year. We had another individual that was killed in another county, but the body was dumped in Cayuga County. I mean, we've seen some terrible, weird things this past year that you just don't ever want to see. But hopefully it continues to trend down overall, but then you get that kind of, like I said, a 7-year-old case that's quite concerning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
This Batman, I've had my hand up this whole time. I heard about half of what he said, and I've got a request. Can Dr. Duckett, can you come to our meetings in the future? Because this is a very difficult way to communicate when we patch in with this stuff. But one of the things I have a specific question. One of the things I thought I heard you say, and it was unclear to me, but I thought I heard you say that the stimulus program was one of the factors in the increase in the number of overdose deaths. Is that, did I hear correctly? And if so, what is that based on?
So what happened is that when, I treat a lot of people in recovery, and, I work with Joel and all that, when people had more access to money, I had personal patients tell me when they were going through times that they used a lot of their money to do that. Now, I'm not downing the stimulus check, if that's what you're implying, because I think the stimulus checks are, my personal belief, we need more of them as soon as possible. But what we noticed, and it could have been coincidental or not, when people had access to money, some of the people that didn't have money before, I had patients flat out tell me that they were using it, and it was somebody wanted to. They have a terrible disease. But then we had to see the numbers begin to go down. And that was after a lot of times people spent a lot of money. So it's based on the fact of timing, and it was based on my statement was based on what I've been personally told from people that suffer from addiction.
Yeah, and again, I could only hear about half of that. So please, in the future, connect our meetings. But what I did hear is that you had some anecdotal experience that says this. You're our coroner, man. We need more than anecdotal stuff. If we're going to make policy based upon what you say, and you're a critical part of our county, we need more than what you feel, what you think, what you see. And maybe I missed most of what you were saying, and for that I apologize. But
anything on anecdotal information, I'm stating potential reasons why and the reasons that I have experienced from working in the field as a physician that works 70 hours a week, I will say that these are observations I made, and these are things that we've discussed. I didn't say that's the only reason. The reason for all of it is a lot of people, as I said in the beginning, people have no access to their care, their doctors. Places were being shut down. They couldn't go to meetings. That was the first part of it that I stated. And the tail end of it that you heard was saying also people had access to cash that they never had access to. And some people chose to use it on some forms of drugs. And so that is also a part of it. It's a multifactorial component. So that's what I said.
All right, I will, this is difficult the way we're trying to do it right now. And I'm really happy that we got a couple answers and we had this discussion. But as a chair, I will try to reach out before the meetings. And if any of you have any questions that you want brought to the committee, please remind me 2 or 3 days in advance, and I'll make sure Mr. Duckett is available to answer some of these questions. Not Dr. Duckett, I'm sorry, I really apologize. And we'll make this work this year, okay?
No, absolutely. So is that Mr. Batman that was speaking last time?
Yes.
You can call me after, if I would appreciate a phone call after, and I can explain to him any questions that he has.
All right, I will forward your phone number to him if he wants to give you a call. All right?
Thank you so much. Take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Dr. Duckett. Thank you. All right. Anything else to come before the committee?
I never learned how to button.
Yeah, this is Batman. I move we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
It's Daily. I'm seconding it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you, and everybody have a great rest of the week.
Good night, all. Thank you, Chair.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for all your help.
You are very welcome.
You're